This is the best moments of the BBQ Central show in 10 minutes or less. Ever wish you could re-listen to your favorite interview or segment? Do you enjoy hearing older shows for the first time in years? Then the best moments of the BBQ Central show in 10 minutes or less is just what you need. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
That's right. This is just what you need. I'm John Solberg, your host for the best moments of the BBQ Central show in 10 minutes or less. And I'm here to let you know that this episode is being brought to you by The Butcher Shop, purveyors of highly sought after 100% Australian non-crossbred Wyvara 9 Plus briskets. And as always, they are handpicked just for you. The Butcher Shop has been retailing the finest meats for the past 15 years. Every week, they are shipping out competition-quality meats to many of the biggest teams in the competition scene across the nation. Simply put, teams who use The Butcher Shop win, and they win often. So you're not a competitor, but you still have an eye for the finer cuts? Great news. The Butcher Shop is shipping some of the finest prime, dry-aged, Australian Wagyu and Japanese Wagyu steaks to people just like you and me who aspire to be the kings and queens of their cul-de-sacs. The Butcher Shop always has Berkshire, Compard Duroc, Allegiance Duroc, and Prairie Fresh all-natural pork in stock, and again, always handpicked for you. Now you might be saying, John, all that sounds great, but I'd really want to try something exotic. Well, rest easy knowing the Butcher Shop will get you your next elk steak or camel roast, and they're going to ship that out promptly. Yeah, get yourself some camel. So let's review the best briskets for competition, check. The best pork selection, check. Giving you better overall options to cook at home, check. So give the Butcher Shop a call today, 850-458-8782. That's 850-458-8782. Make sure you mention the BBQ Central show and you're going to save 10% off your entire order each and every time. You can also interact with them on their Facebook page, facebook.com/The Butcher Shop. Shop is spelled S-H-O-P-P-E. The Butcher Shop, home of the 100% Australian non-crossbred Wyvara 9 Plus briskets. And here's what's going on in today's show from August the 13th, 2013. I'll let Greg introduce it.
I put together a hastily made BBQ Pitmasters TV show, Round Table, with the first two people that have made it into the finals, Dave Bouska, Butcher Barbecue, and Lynnae, Oxley from Sugar's Barbecue. Thank you guys for joining me here on the show tonight. Dave, we'll start with you since you won a couple weeks ago, moving on to the finals. All right, so Dave, looking at this going into this final round, I mean, obviously you want to get here, but I mean, how satisfying is it for you? I don't know, we're talking, this is all in the past already, but I mean, how satisfying is it for you to watch this past weekend, or 2 weeks ago, and see yourself getting moved on to that final round?
I was real excited. We get to see the show the same time everybody else does. You never know how they're going to portray you or anybody else that you're cooking with. I'm just glad to see them keep everything very professional, because there's things that happen in these shows that I think that would make good TV, and they're just not putting in it. So, hey, kudos to them.
You know, I had Meathead on a little bit ago, and he said, you know, they're trying to show the things that he thinks might be most entertaining as far as the television experience aspect or a visual experience aspect for the watcher. Do you kind of side with that agreement with what you're seeing left out of it?
Yes and no. There's things that's left out that would have been more exciting for television that is left out of it, because it did take some of the cooks down just a little bit. There's been pit fires from other cooks. There's been people drop their food. There's been things like that happen that's not coming out on the television. So they're still keeping it to where, how can I say, it still looks like pitmasters, and they're the best pitmasters possible.
Lynnae Oxley from Sugar's Barbecue. Obviously, you know, similar to Dave, you obviously wanted to win this thing. That's why you started in the first place. But seeing yourself being able to move on into the final round this past weekend, I mean, how satisfying is it for you to be able to go up against the teams that you have and kind of advance to this final round now?
It's been amazing. I mean, Corey and I, when we got together and sent this audition tape in January, middle of the wintertime, we had no idea how far we would go with this thing. You know, it was about going in there and taking a chance and having fun and traveling across the country, wherever it was they sent us the first time around, and meeting some great teams, and just doing what we do weekend in and weekend out, but in a different format. Knowing where we needed to be, but not knowing what we were cooking or who we were cooking against, and being put in that position. But if you took the cameras away and the microphones away and the producers away, I mean, it was a contest, and that's what we did. And we just sort of worked our program as best we could, and we figured it out. I had a great communication style, so it was incredibly satisfying. And of course, each time they play a repeat, which is often, my phone goes bonkers and my Facebook page goes bonkers and all the rest of it. It's been incredible.
When I had Dave on the first time talking about his local win, Lynnae, he had said that it's even more of a pressure cooker competition that he's used to. Would you say, given your experience over competitions where you don't have all of this stuff, is it amped up a little bit more given the stakes and all these other things that you have to contend with that you wouldn't normally on a weekend?
Absolutely, 100%. It was said before that it's like a regular contest, sort of, and only it's two meets. But then you're mic'd up, and then you have a producer asking you questions every 30 seconds. And so wanting you to talk your way through the entire thing. Why did you do this? I noticed you did this. And putting your meat on the cooker several times and putting wood in the cooker several times and talking about things. And it gets you kind of knocked off your game. By and large, when I'm competing, I'm generally kind of quiet. I generally compete by myself or with one other person. So I'm not used to talking so much. And this is a whole different thing. I mean, the cameras didn't bother me per se. That was fine. They were going to make me look the way that they made me look, and that was fine. But yeah, definitely pressure cooker. I mean, I agree 100%. It was definitely very out of your element, although very familiar at the same time.
Dave, I've seen you operate at competitions, and I mean, obviously, when you're here on the show as a guest, you're talking because I need you on here to talk. But when I was observing you down in Miami, Oklahoma in March, I mean, you kind of struck me as a person that might kind of keep to yourself during that competition process, especially when it counts. I mean, what kind of a transition or a ramp-up time is it for you to get used to those people that are around you if that's not something that you're used to?
Well, yeah, I do keep to myself during the competition because it's a competition. But we signed on knowing what we're getting into, and you have to make good TV or you're not going to get TV time. You're not going to be on there. And heck, I did it for myself, the family, the kids. The grandkids are having a great time seeing Mimi on television, and so it's been fun. So, yeah, I'd say I opened up a little bit more for TV. Absolutely. When
you had your semifinal cook, Dave, when you saw what was in the cooler, I know you were very comfortable with what was there that opening round, but going into the second round, were you just as comfortable seeing what was available to you?
Yeah, well, obviously, other than the buffalo, I had literally never cooked buffalo before, but it's nothing that's stupid. It wasn't something exotic like ostrich or rattlesnake or anything like that. But I would say that, yeah, a ham is a ham. I cook dozens and hundreds of pounds a week of them, so I know what a ham is. And the buffalo, it was just a matter of getting it cooked, so I wasn't worried about it.
What about you, Lynnae? I mean, you seemed on camera to be pretty pumped up about what you had in the cooler. Was there any trepidation at all when you opened it up and saw what you had to work with?
No, not at all. I mean, from the get-go, we did as much research as we could, tried to be as prepared as we could, taking an arsenal of rubs and sauces and ingredients and things like that, way more than we really needed. And just on the lark that we'd get something like meatloaf. And it's true to form. I don't travel to a contest without at least a couple packs of bacon in my coolers. It's just something I always have. It's something that was taught to me a long, long time ago. You never know when you can use it or not. Sometimes I'd put it on my brisket for a couple hours and take it off, and sometimes I'd use it for other things. So it was just natural to for me to utilize that in the meatloaf and take that meatloaf up a notch. I mean, Jeff Vanderlynne and Rob are amazing cooks, and they weren't going to let anything slide. So the pressure was on. Pork shoulder I've cooked a dozen times. That's not a big deal. Although it was definitely a challenge. I think everyone's temperature got away from them that day. what they didn't show on the TV was that they had us in front of those coolers for quite a while, filming just the right sequence of events for us to open those coolers. Well, at the same time, we had our pits going, climbing. All of our pits were climbing. We were looking back and back and back, and we had to actually take a break to go, control the pits. And I think that's when Jeff kind of realized that his pit got away with it. And I've never used a CTO before, but apparently they're with electricity they don't like it very much. So, but it was definitely we were prepared, and that was the main thing for anything. So, but I was excited. Open there and see that rinky-dinky little silly grinder and all that meat chunks. It was perfect. I knew exactly what we had.
Were you surprised that the other two didn't seem to really have a grasp on, meatloaf when it comes to barbecue pits? I thought that was like a very common thing to learn and do, just even in the basic barbecue stuff.
I thought it was too. Find out what they had to say about meatloaf. Two of my favorite guests right there getting together. Lynnae and Dave. I'm telling you, two fantastic human beings. And it continues my theory that no one in barbecue is more than 6 degrees removed from Dave Bouska. So my game is the 6 degrees of David Bouska, or Bouska's Law. If you don't know what that means, and you want to know what that means, let me know and I'll let you know what that means. Shoot me an email anytime, John, John at thebbqcentralshow.com. Love to hear from you, good, bad, or indifferent. And until next time on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, like I said, I'm John Solberg, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.